What's up, guys? Bluntguts here, and this is a Watcher of Realms video. I'm going to be taking a look at the Cultist faction trial today, and let's take a look at the team real quick. This was, in my opinion, was one of the harder ones that I had to deal with. There's just a lot of moving parts, and I don't have the strongest. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've got some really good Cultist champions, but I think there are some that would have made this a little bit easier. I had to make heavy use of Cerberus and of Aatrox. Their ground AoEs did a lot of work for me, but the MVPs in this one for me are Greed and Iona. They did fantastic work. Vierna is fantastic as well. I know everybody loves Vierna. I'm not quite as high on Vierna as everybody else is, but I do want to call attention to Greed and to Iona because they really did a lot of work for me. So I do have both of them at A5. I invested some soul stones into it. When I first cleared this about 2 weeks ago, I was struggling, and ranking them both up to A5 really seemed to kind of unlock the stage for me. So if you do have some soul stones, I would certainly recommend that you use them on Greed or Iona. They're fantastic candidates for them. I know a lot of people will save those soul stones for legendary lords, or not, excuse me, not legendary lords, epic lords, but at the end of the day, most of the epic lords you're not actually going to be deploying more often than not, or if they are deployed, they don't necessarily need extra stats. So I think that these two champions, they're incredibly rare. They may as well be legendaries. They are as rare as legendaries. I think actually more rare than a lot of legendaries in the game. So this is not a bad investment for your soul stones. And I'll go through the awakenings for both of these champions real quick. But so Greed, increases basic attack chance by triggering special effects by 10%. And these special effects are the magic resistance and the extended range, which is pretty awesome. A2 is plus 5% attack. That's pretty standard. Nothing to see there. Increases soul ripping stat cap to 5. And so this actually, when he kills somebody, he gains 15% attack for 20 seconds. It stacks up to 3 times at A0. At A3, it stacks up to 5. So we're talking about going from a 45% increase in attack to 75% increase in attack. It's a big difference. It's pretty huge. He hits really, really hard when you've got him awakened and geared well. So A4 plus 8% crit rate. That's not all that exciting, but at the end of the day, what that does do is it opens up a lot of options for your gearing because you don't have to stack quite as much crit rate. You potentially, if you've got 4 pieces of gear that do have relatively high crit rate, you could bring in one of your other pieces, one of those ancients that you were pissed off that didn't have crit rate on it. You can plug that in here, and that's going to really help you out in kind of maximizing his gear. And then A5, this is the big one, and this is why I went all the way to A5. The Cast of Purgatory triggers 2 special effects at the same time. The special effects are an AoE slow, and then there's also an AoE damage. And previously, before you get into A5, he picks one of the two. It's a random chance to do one or the other. And when you have them both, it is huge, and it makes him a lot more consistent. It takes out a lot of the RNG in his kit, and I love me some Greed. He is a fantastic champion. I wish he had a little higher base stats. If he had some higher base stats, he would be one of the best AoE mages in the game. He already is, but he would be in the conversation. So Iona, kind of similar, fantastic awakenings. She does these AoE starbursts that slow and stun the enemy. So A1, during the ultimate, each attack triggers a starburst. That kind of removes some of their RNG from her kit as well, which, just like Greed, makes it really nice. Starburst is the damage that's done in this star when she produces these AoE star domains that slow and stun enemies. The A2 is 5% attack, just like Greed. That's, we'll take all the attack we can get. It's not all that exciting, but we'll take it. Increases the damage of Starburst by 50%. This is just basically a 50% increase to her AoE damage. So fantastic. A3 is really good. Crit rate, again, like I was saying with Greed, this is going to open up some more gearing options for you and is going to allow you to kind of min-max a little bit better. So I know, again, not all that exciting, but I do love getting extra crit rate on champions. Thinking of, like, say, Wrath and Setram, and Deimos has 5% crit, I think, on his A2. Really just allows you to kind of pull in some of these pieces of gear that previously you couldn't if you wanted to maintain crit cap. You've got a little bit more flexibility now, so I do love that A4. And then finally, her Awaken 5 increases the ultimate duration by 5 seconds. That's pretty self-explanatory. I can't tell because my Iona is no longer A0, but I do believe that this makes it a 25-second ultimate. I'm not sure that the tooltip updates. She's a fantastic champion. Well worth your Epic Soul Stones if you do have them. If you've been lucky enough to pull a bunch of copies of her, you know, that would be amazing as well. But I've pulled one Iona. I bought the pack, the Iona pack, when I first started the game. Was kind of underwhelmed by her because everybody was talking about how great she is. She really doesn't shine until A5, in my opinion. You need all these awakenings to make her kind of the powerhouse that she is, but she does some work, and you guys are going to see when I go through the run here. So going back to the team here, we've got Aeon as the lead. She's my best cultist lord. I don't have a legendary one at this point, but she's mainly there really just for the lord bonus. I'm going to deploy her, but it's because I don't have other compelling options. I don't really use Cyrene. I've never really delved into cost generators all that much, and I didn't need her here. She's really just in there as a placeholder. Same thing with Voltus, that's what his name is. Same thing with Voltus. He's not deployed. He's just in there because I wanted to pop another cultist in there. Obviously, Cerberus is going to do that ground AoE that I mentioned earlier. Kriya is in here. I don't love Kriya, but I'm not really asking her to do all that much here. She's providing some support on the top of the map for Cerberus when he can't. Oftentimes, he doesn't quite get enough to kill all of the enemies at the top of the map. So I brought in Kriya and I popped her up there, and that seemed to solve the problem. So she's got decent gear on her. Nothing fantastic, but it is helpful to have kind of a full roster in there. Vierna is an amazing champion. I know I said earlier I'm not as high on her as a lot of people are. I love the execute. I think that is kind of her defining trait. She does do really good damage on her ultimate, but especially when you consider the execute damage. I mean, it's kind of unparalleled when you consider the execute damage. But aside from that, I don't love Vierna. I don't know what it is. I love the bond skill that she gave to my Silas. That is fantastic, but that's just me. Hollow, fantastic healer. She's the only healer we're bringing in here, and Aatrox is similar to Cerberus, is going to be doing some ground AoE and helping us clear some packs of mobs. So in any case, I'm going to get into it. We're going to do it at 1x speed. I'll give you a little bit of insight into what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, and why I'm doing it. So here we go, guys. So let's see. I'm going to put it on 1x so I have a little bit more time to react because I am not all that great on the PC, especially when I am talking. So Greed's going to be the first deployment. I like to put him on the right here so that he can get that extended range up towards where the enemies are coming out. You can see he's doing a bunch of damage right here. He is so amazing. I love Greed. If I haven't said it enough times, I love Greed. We're going to drop Aatrox down in the middle, who's going to help out. See, these enemies, the big one in the middle here is going to pop into, I think, 5 or 6 little ones once it dies. And so we're going to need Aatrox in there to help out. We are going to put our Cerberus up here. We're going to face him down. I don't know that this matters, but this is kind of the weak spot. If enemies do leak, they typically leak below him. And then finally, we're going to put Kriya, well, not finally, but finally here, we're going to put Kriya up here for just a little extra damage, just to ensure that we kill these enemies. And then after that, our next deployment is going to be Iona when she comes out, and we're going to have her on this tile kind of down in the bottom center, facing to the left, so she can attack not just the ogre type things that are coming out of the bottom portals, but also the air enemies that are coming out of these 2 air portals on the left. Everything's looking good so far, so no complaints. Let's see. Some more cost. Vierna is going to go over here and facing downwards so we can get a little extra damage on these. I guess they're not ogres. Maybe they're undead ogres or something like that. And one thing that I found is kind of make or break in this is I wait until we've got all of these air mobs out before I pop Iona's first ultimate. If I don't do that, then ultimately what ends up happening is these air mobs leak, and I don't have enough to kill them. So got Aatrox just went down. We're going to put Hollow right here because these are the only areas where we're really going to take damage. I do have Cerberus in a Lunacy Visor, And so that is going to help out. We're going to pop Kriya's ult there to help out with the damage up there. And we'll also pop Cerberus's ult so that we can make sure that we clear all of those. We are going to put, what's her name, Aeon up here. She's not going to do much, but she is going to, I guess, help Greed get a little increased damage with her magic and physical reductions. So, and then we'll also pop here because we're going to have a bunch of enemies come out when these two big mobs die. Everything looks good up top, so things are going okay so far. I did have to kind of re-gear everybody in order to do this on without Power of Dominance. So I was able to do it the last time. I'm hoping I get it the first time this time when we do it. We're going to be keeping an eye on Iona's ultimate. And in fact, we're probably going to, I think we'll pop that there. Hopefully we can get these air mobs before they go. There you go. Look at that damage. I mean, for an epic, it's just incredible. And she does have good gear on her, but she was doing nowhere near that much damage before I awakened her. So, like I said before, if you've got the Soul Stones, she is totally worth it, especially if you're struggling with this faction trial. Getting there. We've got one more wave. These ones are coming out. We've got some up at the top, and then it's just going to be one more wave at the bottom. And we should be good. Pop Kriya's ult, pop Cerberus's ult. Get some extra damage, and hopefully mitigate what could potentially happen. You see Aatrox dies there, and his AoE is going to play a big role in us getting these, but Greed is just popping off too. The combination of the two is just so nice. And now that's handled. And now we just have to clear these three mobs up at the top. Hopefully we can get them. Looks like they're going to walk right through the AoE. They should die. Yep, we're good up there. Can't pop Iona's ult quite yet, but this is pretty much a done deal at this point. So, I mean, there you have it, guys. It took me a while to kind of figure out the correct order to get these enemies down. Or actually, I should say, sorry, to get my placements down, to get all of the right positioning and the right order to deploy my heroes. But it is relatively easy once you kind of figure it all out. So hopefully this helps you. Let's take a look at the gearing on the champion so you can see what I'm working with. Oh, and we can't go back in there, I guess. So we're going to have to go back to the Cultists and take a look at that. All right. Cultist faction. So we have got Cerberus. He is in Infernal Roar. I'm not 100% sure that this increases his ground AoE. I think it does, but that's honestly, at this point in the game, all of my best gear is pretty much in Infernal Roar or Soulbound Arcana because I've spent so much time farming Gear Raid 3. So even if it's not, this is pretty much one of my top 3 or 4 damage sets. You do have to gear switch on this. It is, if you want to advance this far, you're going to need to swap your best gear onto your champions in all of these faction trials. But this one in particular seemed to have a pretty high gear requirement as far as the damage that needs to go out. And maybe for me in particular, because I have so much of my team are epics and they've got inherently lower base stats like Greed and like Aeon. So that was kind of my strategy, is always just to, whatever content I'm doing, I move the best gear onto them. We've also got a Lunacy Visor on him. It is plus 19. I've been putting some more energy into Artifact Material Raid recently, and I've gotten a few more of these. So this is certainly helpful. It keeps him up. Although when I was doing it originally, he wasn't staying alive the entire time, and you do have enough time to redeploy him once within there. You probably can't do it more than once, because he ends up having that increased respawn time when he dies. Each time he dies, it increases by 30 seconds or something, or 45 seconds, something like that. Actually, we can take a look at that just to see. So the revival time gets extended by 30 seconds each time he dies. So you could probably afford to have him die once, but any more than that is going to be difficult, because you're not going to be able to get him back in before the next wave spawns at the top. So if you are using the strategy, that's something that you certainly do need to keep in mind. I do think that a any lunacy visor is gonna help you out there, even if it's only a level 10 one. So that would be something that I would be on the hunt for in artifact material raid if you're looking to clear this. Let's take a look at Vierna, who I didn't put the best gear on her. She's got decent attack, over 100% crit rate, a little over 300% crit damage, so good but not amazing. She's got a bunch of attack speed on her. Honestly, I didn't really put all that much time in there to gearing this champion, because all I'm really using her for is the execute, and the execute her gear doesn't matter on that. So, and the other thing, she's not affected by attack speed. There's a lot of things I don't love about Veer. You can't tell, but she did some work for me. She did help me kind of finish off some of those packs, so that I didn't have to worry about I guess min-maxing Iona quite as much. So there is that. Kriya, I just tossed one of my Infernal Roar sets on her. She does okay damage, but she's not incredible. She's like, I think everybody's least favorite champion at this point, or maybe it's a three-way tie between her, Cratch, and maybe Azor or something like that. Apsan maybe a four-way tie. So it was that. I do have Zealous on my account. I've never used him. I know he's not very good. I'm sure at some point I'll level him up, but he's been low priority, so I never put any effort into him. Iona got one of my best gear sets. This is the gear that I usually use on Valeria and Guild Boss. You can see reasonably high attack speed, 368 total. She's over crit cap, so I didn't really listen to my own advice and min-max her gear that way. But if I wanted to, I could probably pump out some more offensive stats in either attack or crit damage because of that, or maybe attack speed as well. So, but you see she's got about 340% crit damage, crit cap, like I said. Her attack is at a little under 13k, which is kind of low for a mage, but I do have a level 22 Tear of Twilight on her, which obviously is doing a lot of work. She's getting an extra 28% attack from that, so that is huge. Let's take a look at Greed. I just got a tile ring on him. I do have another Tear of Twilight that I could have tossed on, and I would have tossed on if I had trouble, but I didn't, so I just went with this. His gear, he's got another one of my good gear sets. This is typically what I have on Hex, minus one of these pieces, which is usually a crit damage piece. So crit damage could have been higher, but because of his low base attack, I wanted to pump up the attack a little bit more, so I put this attack bonus neck on him. He did great work. You could see he's got very good speed, 471 speed. He's over crit capped. Again, I didn't min-max that like I was talking about earlier. And his attack is 13k, which on an epic champion is pretty substantial, especially considering that we've still got about 280% crit on him. Like I said, title ring on him. Our Aatrox is in an Eye of Sin. I guess theoretically I could have used the Lunacy Visor just to add that extra block for him. I didn't really need it. And the other thing is that if you use a Lunacy Visor on him, he can't actually be healed, so you're not going to get the benefit of kind of keeping him up. He is going to die, but he has that low respawn time that you saw in the video. I was able to redeploy him multiple times, and that certainly helped out to keep from getting overwhelmed by those extra mobs that spawn when you kill the larger oozes. Hollow, I didn't really even look at her gear, I don't think. She's got decent stats, nothing crazy, 14k attack. Her attack speed is okay at 387. I think healers typically I'd prefer them between 400 and 500 speed, so it's a little low for me there. Healing effect is nice. I think any healer could probably do what Hollow is doing in there. You notice I don't think I popped her ult at all when I was doing it. I probably could have done that for some extra rage regen. That would have been smart. So if you are looking to min max it, that is something to keep in mind. I just have this Tia's Bomb on her. I don't know how much that's really helping. I don't think anybody was really down below 30%, so probably wasn't doing all that much, but that's what it was in there for. And finally, we have got Aeon, who I just put my Mari's gear on her, so she's got a lot of attack speed. But other than that, I'm not expecting her to do any damage, but she is going to be pumping out a lot of debuffs on the enemies that Greed is attacking. And one thing I did do the first time I cleared it, when I was struggling a little bit more, was her like Gravity Well or whatever it is, the ultimate Death Vortex. It pulls enemies back closer to the center of the vortex. So if you do have some that leak through, you can always use this as kind of like a last ditch effort to try to get them back into Greed's range and pull the enemies all the way back to where you've got her placed. But yeah, guys, that is Cultist 12, and this strategy, stages 10 through 12 are all the same thing. It's just increasing enemy stats, so it's harder to kill each progressive level. This strategy will work on all of them. This is the same placements and strategy that I used on the previous levels on 10 and 11. So hopefully this helps you out. Hopefully this helps you advance and gets you a little bit closer to that free legendary that's at the end of faction trials. I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe if you like the content. I'm going to be putting out more in the future. And yeah, I will catch you all next time.